Like I said, my guy, I don't write code for fun.
I want to create solutions which help people.
Be this person I want to be in the future, I have to follow this path.
Seeing their lifestyle, the type of lifestyle that I want.
Africa's blank canvas. Paint your dreams.
Welcome to today's episode. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, someone who's rising up the rankings of tech, someone who's been on the hustle, someone who's been doing a lot, someone who actually recently became the top software development voice on LinkedIn because of all the work he's been doing. Today, I am joined by Farirai Masocha. How are you doing?
Thanks, man. Thanks for the recognition, but
anyway,
yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I really, yeah.
It's glad to hear that. It's very glad to hear that you're doing great. So, I know you're a very busy man. I know you're always building things. Been following you on LinkedIn. I think we even exchanged phone numbers back in the day, but I think life just got busy and went our separate ways. So, as we start off the podcast, most of the guests always want to know who the guest is. Most of the listeners want to know what the guest is. Can you just tell us just a background about yourself?
Yeah, okay, sure. So the crazy thing, like you're always, right now you're just saying like I'm always busy. I'm actually like on my second screen right now. There's actually code opening of an app I'm working on. So yeah, but basically the thing is, I started I didn't even want to study like computer science in the first place, but my dad, he just forced me into it. So, but at the end of the day, I ended up like loving it as well. And I think the main reason why I started building applications is while still, I think it was in my second year, I started getting paid by other students in my class. So I just thought, if I can make money off this, then why not? Yeah.
Not like in code, like not IT. Most people tell me on the podcast that I started off, I enjoyed it, but hearing from your point of view of saying that you were not interested in it at the start, and then you were like, okay, I'm being forced instead of making money. So, can you tell us before IT, what was the plan?
Yeah, I think the plan, I wanted to do something related to probably a geography degree because I used to love like geography and I was good at it. So I thought maybe if I could do that at university, it would actually be easier for me. So that was the plan. Maybe being a geologist or something in another life.
That's what we can always just say, just in another life. So, just to speed travel through your life, I think when I reached out to you, I was saying that I would want to know about, the college life, So how was it? I see here that you were at University of Zimbabwe here in Harare. Can you just tell us how was the 4 years doing schoolwork, balancing school and side projects and all of those things?
Yeah, so the crazy thing about especially like the 4 years the University of Zimbabwe is a lot of people spend their time doing different things. So there are those kind of people who spend like their 4 years trying to come up with a first class. They make sure their grades are on point. At the end of the day, they can't even write maybe some simple code. Then there are those guys who are in it for the money, like me. Honestly, I don't write code because I love doing it. I write code because I know that it's actually an easier way to make money because a lot of people hate it. So I remember there was a time where I started actually working remotely while I was in my third year up to now. So I've actually got 3 years of class for experience and I've just finished school. So, and this has actually helped me even in building my own SaaS projects, my own side projects, deploying them, trying to generate some revenue. And the main advantage is because people know that I was actually good at coding, I actually get projects from many people asking me, okay, I know a guy who does this. So I think it's basically with your 4 years. Do you want to be the student like who graduates with a good degree but who doesn't have the skills, or you want to be both, or you want to be a skilled dev at the end of the day? So yeah, I think that's the summary of it.
Can you go a bit deeper in that situation of the student who graduates with the grades and the student who graduates?
Okay, sure. Let me just maybe try to explain. So the tech industry right now, what happens is there are two types of companies. There are companies that care about, okay, what degree class did you have and so on. Then there are companies who care about what you can do. So you come up with the instance now whereby you go for an interview, then they ask you, what have you built? Then at some point, another person can go to another space and they just ask you, can you show us your certificate? So it's at the end of the day, it now goes back to which type of person do you want to be? Because the main advantage of me actually being able to hone my skills now is I can actually build my own applications. Because the idea right now is I actually want to build and deploy a SaaS app every month and probably see how it goes. Maybe one blows up, and if it doesn't, I'll continuously improve my skills. So I think that's the short summary of it, I think.
Yeah, I truly get that. As a university student myself, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not gonna lie, in class, I'm currently in my third year doing my attachment, and you realize that you look at some of your friends, and like you're saying, they can't write code, just the basics. They are like always complaining about just the basic stuff. It's like for loops, if statements, nothing difficult. They're not talking about the logic, they're not talking about, the algorithm. It's just like they can't even write code. And it becomes that situation you're saying with sometimes you should really understand like your industry, like really understand your industry. Like tech in itself these days, it's not really about the book smart people anymore that much, because most startups just want people who can just join their team and just jump on that wagon and go strong. They don't want to waste time teaching people like, oh, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to implement this? They just want to, can you do this? And I like what you said about them asking, what have you built? And I think that's a very powerful question to a lot of people they should have to say, especially if you're doing computer science. I think after every semester, you should have like a reflection of saying, what have I built this semester? And in building that, what did I learn? Did I, grow? Did I learn something new? Did I improve my skills? What can I do better for the next project? And so on and so on. And I feel like by the time you get like you in your situation, by the time you do your 4 years, you have gained that knowledge enough to be way past your own peers, even though you might not graduate with that first class degrees, but in that day when it comes to getting that job, you're more likely to be the first pick. So as we go on into your story, I heard you mention about SaaS, software as a service, for our listeners who don't know that. I just have one question for you, and the question is, can it make money? Because it's not a SaaS until it starts making money. It's just a side project.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think for the one I've just built, like it's called like Link Genie, using AI to create like engaging LinkedIn content. I think right now I've actually reached to the place where it's actually at 750 like users and getting around like 80 to 100 active users per day. So if you have something like that now, the idea now is to monetize. But basically, I think what I want to do now is I want to get probably to a traffic level whereby I've got like 2,000 registered users. Then it's 100 active users per day. So if I have that now, I can actually monetize, because you just don't monetize at first. People have to adjust probably to, they have to be dependent on your system for growth. Because if they continuously use the service, their voice becomes part of Link Genie. So their content has to keep in line with that. So that's how you monetize. Like I said, my guy, I don't write code for fun.
Yeah, I truly get that statement. You don't write code for fun. You mean business. Yeah, you're there to stand on business, nothing else. So, a bit more about your
Exactly,
project.
nothing else.
A bit more about your project. LinkedIn. I've seen about it, or you've been posting a lot about it on LinkedIn, and I kind of like. I want to hear more about it. Like you said, you're getting quite a reasonable amount about users. What's like the demographic? Is it mainly based in Zimbabwean users, or are you also breaking into that international market? What just like the idea of LinkedIn. What made you come up with that idea? What made you like, okay, I've seen this problem in the LinkedIn space and I can penetrate that market? What was happening with LinkedIn?
Yeah, so the crazy thing is, I think I registered like on LinkedIn around 2022, but at that time I just had an account because I think the only reason why I registered was because of peer pressure. We had this like guy who came at the University of Zimbabwe and did like a meeting saying you have to have LinkedIn. I registered. I used to post once in a while, but then I thought, so I've seen like people get actually remote jobs and like meaningful connections on LinkedIn. And like over the past year, I think the users on LinkedIn have actually grown to 1 billion users on LinkedIn. So I trusted that in saying, okay, it's actually difficult to write consistent content about your story, like in the same voice without actually changing your niche. So I thought, what if I could build something, a service that's relatively cheaper that can allow me to build, to write consistently engaging content, and as the algorithm improves, I actually improve my application as well. So I just did it for fun. Yeah, send it to a few of my friends. They started like using it daily. They shared it, and I think the rest is history. A lot of people like really like uh, love using it. So yeah, based on the feedback that I get.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Like, you joined LinkedIn out of peer pressure. I think that's why all of us on LinkedIn. I always laugh about this to myself. The amount of connections you have and you're still jobless does not make sense to me for LinkedIn. Like, so what's the point of LinkedIn? Because I'm always seeing people like, I think almost every day you open LinkedIn, there's like 4 to 10 connections. People are trying to connect. And when I look at LinkedIn, and okay, let's actually just dive a bit more deep into this LinkedIn issue. What's your thoughts about LinkedIn against like other social media platforms? What leverage does LinkedIn have besides just using other social medias to look for businesses and work? I know LinkedIn, they say it's for professionals, but do you really feel that way?
LinkedIn is a business platform. So what does this mean? So it means that you actually connect with individuals in your space. It's actually easier to connect with, okay, to find devs you can collaborate with on open source projects on LinkedIn. For example, you write a post about your project you're working on. I see the post, I comment, okay, this is actually a good idea. I think I can contribute to this. So I think I've actually endeavors where we're actually working on different projects together and actually getting feedback on each other's code and so on. So LinkedIn, it's only a matter of how you plan to use it. For example, my goal is I want to grow like a brand. That will allow me, for example, if I build my own application, I will have a constant, like certain number of following that okay, when I deploy this, these people are going to put my project to their networks. And that's like a bunch of users I could not have just like, or who could have just came out of thin air or something. Yeah.
Your take on LinkedIn, and I do believe that I think with any social media platform is the way you want to use it that really counts. Because although I've seen how LinkedIn is, I feel like Microsoft themselves are kind of getting pressurized, to keep up with the times of social media. I'm now seeing things like shorts on LinkedIn, those things. But I do feel like you said, if you kind of like have a direction what you want to use LinkedIn for, it does really then help you increase. Because that's how I made you. I made you through LinkedIn and your consistent posting about your project. Especially, I think I reached out to you. I think it was 2023 last year. Where I think those days you're posting a lot about Laravel, just talking about the framing of Laravel, how you enjoy using it. And remember, we were supposed to collaborate on a project, but I think just life just got busy and went our separate ways. But like you said, there's so many opportunities. As we go down again into your story, back to your story again, can you just tell us what was the life after college? I remember you posting sometimes about looking for work and you say it's very difficult, but you're not discouraged. What was that period of time after work? How was it just, after college, how was it just like?
Yeah, so what happens is like what I'm saying is it all depends. For me, I actually had been lucky that like even whilst in my final year, I was already like working remotely like for this company in SA. So it was just like a smooth transition, like getting a better package and so on, because I was actually now getting to spend like more full time on the tasks as well. And now this is the advantage of LinkedIn as well. I think this job I actually got it through LinkedIn. And what you have to understand probably is I never At first, initially did this. I was applying for jobs on LinkedIn. Then I just stopped. I was like, no, this is not me. Uh, Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build projects. I'm gonna showcase them on my profile. And if someone is interested in working with me, they're gonna connect with me directly. It actually worked significant because I've actually got clients from LinkedIn for websites and so on. And actually got jobs from there as well with actually applying. So again, it now goes back to the concept of what do you want to use LinkedIn for? So yeah.
So before we continue with the story, I just want to stay a bit more on this LinkedIn journey of yours and getting job hunting. Can you tell me the mindset you had, especially with the Zimbabwean economy and how people are just complaining and things are not working out for everyone. What type of mindset did you have as you were just going through the process? I think we even go back to during your times in college where in your second year you're already working remote. What was your mindset during this whole entire ordeal, just around this the tech field and trying to get something for yourself to happen?
Yeah, so I think my take on that is it now goes back like to what I was saying in the first place. Like what is your plan for okay, why are you studying a tech degree in the first place? Are you just doing this because you want to pass or you want actually want to make money out of this? So here's my understanding. Because actually in the first place when I started like making a little bit of money, like doing projects for other people in my class and so on, people started to recognize that okay, Fari is good at this. So now this translated to people actually, okay, if there's an opportunity, my lecturers now knew, okay, Fari is a good programmer. So I think I actually attended the away seat for the future, won like second place out of 12 countries and so on. Then we went to the ICP hackathon as well. I think I actually won like, I think it was actually like $500 at that time. Top five devs in the space. So it all comes now back to what is your plan since that you just want to get a degree or stuff. So I think it goes back to that because I think my take career started like in an early stage whereby I said, okay, I love money, my guy. I love nice things. I love a nice laptop, a nice monitor, a nice phone. So that's like the main reason why I code. I just love nice things.
Yeah, sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes is I wasn't really expecting anything really that deep from you, but I think you just kept it simple. Like my guy is just man. There's nothing else. It's just man. That's the driving force. That's what makes me wake up in the morning and do what I want to do.
Exactly.
And I applaud you for that. I know some people would try and come up with some deep philosophical thinking or like this and that, but to each their own. So as we continue more, let's talk about building side projects and improving your skills. So when did you start building your side projects? I think you said it a while back. Can you tell us like your first side projects? What were they doing? And I know it wasn't anything like SaaS levels, but it was just something there to improve your skills. Can you just take us through your history of like side projects you just did to improve your skills?
So I think like the time where I started, yeah. So I think like the main stage where it all started is like where I started like to okay, this is how I earned like my first $100 in tech, like like real code. So what I did is there was this guy, I was an attachment at that time. So my friend like he sent me this person. Okay, this person requires a final year project. Imagine I was like doing a final year project like for a person while I was still in my third year. I think at that time I was attached at Medbank. So the patient came, okay, I need this. At that time, I wasn't like really, really like good at code. But I understood like Laravel. So I just took a bunch of packages, like forced some code, like just to work, built an e-commerce platform, and the person like gave me like $150, and that was like the first like like a solid 100 like I actually typed with code there from them, and I was like, I know I have to push this. I think at that time, I think during my attachment period, I actually made more money than I was being paid at attachment with side projects for other students.
It's actually crazy. I think your story does relate to a few people who have done tech for a while. Like eventually, I remember one of my first employers. I think that was like in 2021. I was working for him. He said he used to work at one of the big companies in Zimbabwe for mobile networks. So at that company, basically, they used to make about, I think, 6 to 10 websites a month, and a month he was getting paid $200. And when you did the maths in his head, it's like, we're making like 6 to 10 websites, and this company is selling this website for $200 to $500 each, and then at the end of the month, I'm only making $200. So he saw that the math was just not adding up properly. Then he decided, just take a step out and open his own company. Now he's doing very well, making websites and softwares for enterprise businesses in Zimbabwe. And I think that's the mentality you kind of, I think you then saw after working at your attachment, and you're making money. It's like, I'm making more money than what I'm being paid. So what happens if I actually go full in this thing and just focus?
Yeah, so I'm saying like that's the crazy thing. That I think at some point, like I think for my first, like in Zim attachment, like I think for the first like month or something, because like you actually be just doing office tasks like for the people in the, because I think I was actually at first I was in digital banking, then I was actually like doing like office tasks, maybe answering calls, solving banking issues and so on. 1 month, I think like the backend dev it moved on like to greener pastures and so on. So I just said, no, but I can build what it's doing instead of hiring another person. So at that point now, I actually moved away like from the office task, and I was actually moved to the dev team. So the main concept is I think remember one day we were having a discussion, we're saying, okay guys, we just built this system for a client. And we know there's a complicated system. So I don't know. We had a friend like in finance who told us like the client has paid like like a bunch of money for this, and we're being paid like the same salary. So it's the basic understanding of it, man.
About this, to be honest, about the imposter syndrome, like that take that most people when they're put in positions, you've done your computer science degree for 2 years now, you're going to attachment, and then you get into that position, you feel like you're not good enough. You get in there, you see the code base, people are doing things that you'd never learned in class. But I like what you did. You didn't look at it as an obstacle. You did look at it as an obstacle that you could overcome, and you like to whoever your manager is like, I can do that. Yes, it looks complicated, but I believe in my skills that I can do that. And I really applaud you for that, because it takes a lot of guts, not gonna lie. It takes a lot of guts to be able to just jump in there and, fight the flames, because we all know that when someone leaves the code base, it's not usually left in the best situations, especially if you're just joining in. So as we go down to your current employment, I won't mention the company if you don't want me to mention it, but it says here that you are a senior Laravel developer, which is very impressive, to be honest. Someone straight out of uni into a senior position. Or other people have to go through entry, junior, then senior. What did that preparation all come from? From the side projects for you to be able to take on the role of a senior Laravel developer?
Yeah, so like the crazy thing is, if you look, like the first part was the like the blockchain contract blockchain developer. So what happened, like the ICP blockchain which we did in the first, like what was still like in my final year at uni. So that's the one that actually got me that job. Then the Link Genie is the one that got me like the senior Laravel developer position. So how I got this is actually pretty sick. So because I had actually started using Laravel from my first year up to my third year, that was the only framework I used. People were saying, yes, PHP is dead and you shouldn't write PHP, but I wrote PHP. It paid
You
the
wanted
bills,
the Lambo.
and I loved Laravel. So that gave me like the yeah. So now that gave me those skills like to code, because what happens in coding is if you continuously use a certain framework, start like to find tweaks to reduce the time you're doing on something. So that when you start doing those things, like finding ways to like sort of like cheat codes or hacks to reduce the time you spend on doing something, you're already like a senior dev man, because your code will be different from someone who's just writing.
Definitely, definitely. I like that piece of advice, especially to the younger developers. You know, the most annoying question ever in our industry is always, as a new developer comes in, it's like, oh, what programming language should I learn, guys? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Then I think even the senior developers are now sick of it. They just say, just pick a language, stick with it, work with it. If it doesn't work for the things you want to for it to work, then you can think about changing the language to another one. Because you see, I think all of us had fought at that at a point in our dev career where we used to jump around languages. You know, one moment you're using Python, one moment you're using PHP, one moment you're using JavaScript, and all these other languages. But you end up seeing that you're really going nowhere because you're only having appreciation for those languages and you're actually not building things. But I think the thing of sticking out with one thing, even though a lot of people are trying to this thing to remove you from that language, saying, "Oh, it's not a good language." I know what you're talking about. Like PHP is dead. Even people have been saying PHP is dead since like what 2003. Before we were even born, people were saying PHP is dead. But anyway, it's still being used in most of the in the world. So I do really like that approach of yours. You just stuck out with it, and now you're seeing it develop. So can you also explain to people? Really, do I have senior developers on the podcast like that? Can you explain the difference between a senior developer, a junior developer, and an entry level developer? What type of works are you not doing at the senior level that you didn't do at the junior level and beginner levels, or what type of works you're no longer doing because you're not at that senior level?
Yeah, so initially the first thing is when you're an entry developer now, the thing is they actually you can write code even like simpler tasks. First thing, you don't push to production. You never do that. Uh, so you can actually, you're given small tasks, you solve them, then people have to review your code before it's even accepted as a pull request or something on Git. So as a junior developer now, okay, you start to be given like a little bit more complex tasks. People start to trust you a little bit. But as a senior developer, you're the one who actually has to continuously like maintain the main branch. You are the one who pushes to production. You're the first one who, maybe if there's an error, you're the one on that deployment. If there is no DevOps guy, you are the person who's you are the person who's assigning probably tasks to maybe a junior who is below you or something. So yeah.
And like like you said, like I think when it comes to these levels, it's just more about the trust the company has in you as an individual. Like you said, at entry level, no one trusts you. No one. Sometimes you don't even push to the dev branch. You push to the dev branch. And that's how they trust you. Like work there. Then we'll see from there. Then of course, as you climb the rankings, you get better and get more responsibilities. And in your current setup, are you in a team? Are you the team lead? What's going on with that setup? What's your current role exactly in the team? What just your simple day to day task.
Yeah, this also I really hope like my yeah. So the crazy thing about working remotely, this is like the main reason why I love working remotely. I can be given a task. Please, guys, don't do this. But I can be given a task on Monday, right? I can finish that task on Monday and delay like the entire week, then probably deploy the item on Friday. Because you actually have an understanding of the language you're using. So you spend like a quarter of the time you are likely to spend if you weren't as good as the level they expect you to be at. So you gain more time or more freedom to work on your projects as well. So yeah, I think that's the advantage of working remotely and having and so this is what you should always do. always like find a job that is in line with the framework that you know. It will actually like reduce like the stress levels or something.
I get that Steve, because I always tell people this, like working remotely in the tech industry is the biggest cheat code you can ever have. Because most people don't understand when it comes to the tech industry, especially when it comes to software development, depending on your position, you're usually given a task, a week by week task. Like for this week, you're supposed to do this. So I always tell people like you can literally do like what you're doing, like in one day, from the moment you're given to the task, in one day, finish that task. And you just like, you just delay or
Yeah,
stand
yeah,
up.
yeah, that's true, man. Because I think like all of my past three like work experience have been like fully remote. There was a time I worked like for this company called like Flixtex. That was hybrid. So like I think we were only meeting when we were like showing the website or the system to the client. I think that was like yeah, but full like office 9 to 5. I only did that in Midbank, yeah.
We always laugh to ourselves like with the tech industry, a 9 to 5 is just literally a waste of time. I'm not gonna lie, it's really just a waste of time. As software developers, I feel like it's just a waste of time. Because yes, there are days, yeah, you use that 9 to 5 correctly because maybe you're on this bug that's just not doing what you wanted to do. Then there are days where you come in at 9, by 10, by like 11 o'clock, you're done with that thing. Now you just have to sit out the rest of the day because that's what, the contract says for you that you have to be at work. And I think like the benefit, like you said, of working remote allows you like the moment you're done with that task, you can basically just like log off and do other things. So as we go on with your life, we're just gonna backtrack again a bit. We're just gonna start off with blockchain, then we move on to AI. So there's a company you work to where you're doing blockchain, and can you just explain what you guys were doing with blockchain? Because I think blockchain, it had a big buzz back in the day where everyone was talking about blockchain, but now things have simmered down. Can you just explain again what blockchain is to people, just like a small recap, and what you guys were trying to achieve at that place you're working with blockchain?
So what we did now is basically like the web, right? There's like web one, web two, and web three. So web three, this is where blockchain sits. So how is blockchain different like from web two, right? Blockchain now is decentralized, meaning your website or your application. It isn't like it is like on one central location. For example, you deploy your application to a web server or something. Now on blockchain, it sits on multiple nodes on multiple devices. So what we did now is we built a service. Like most of the problem we're trying to solve was okay. The main reason why people don't like international trading is because all of the paperwork that is in between. So we built the company. I think that was Decentralized Trade Association. Yeah, out now, whereby these documents, all of these trade documents, can now be shared fully online. And like my goods first, and I pay you. Like with this system now, the seller and the buyer. So the seller now, the buyer would actually uh, uh, deposit money into his account or her account on the chain, right? Then when all of them are satisfied with okay, the seller is actually received. As I said, okay, the buyer is received the goods, right? But this allowed now for better security now, easier like moving of the documents, and actually better like client satisfaction between the buyer and the seller as well. So I think that was like the basic in brief, like what we built, yeah.
So basically, with the blockchain, like you said, in your parts, like everything is centralized in today's world. Then blockchain is trying to break that centralization, and that every information is shared across different resources, and the information has to be validated on the blockchain every time something happens. And I think that is, as people always say, everything has its benefits and drawbacks. At the end of the day, And the benefit of blockchain is that usually we can validate the information. We make sure that everyone has the same information, and everyone can see what's happening and see what transactions are happening. And it also just builds trust amongst people. If one thing goes, if one block goes down, there's always a replacement in other parts. It's very interesting. So that was about blockchain and your previous work experience with blockchain. Let's move on to AI. What made you dip your toes into artificial intelligence?
So I think like the main reason why I started working on AI is because like my final year project used something called YOLO. You audit look once is an AI service which creates like a bunch of these models. So I started using like YOLO V8 and datasets like from RoboFlow to build sort of like some crazy stuff. So I started okay with YOLO V8 and RoboFlow, you can essentially build an AI model in 15 minutes. So you can build that, you can deploy it, you can even download your model and use it maybe within your website or mobile application via APIs or something. So just it's actually easier to create an application or a model and deploy it using like a YOLO. So I think that's when I started like to work on it a bit, because I think I did like 3 final year projects for people in my class using like YOLO V8 and RoboFlow. So yeah.
Well, more about the YOLO. Is that the same thing that is powering Link Genie, or it's a different situation altogether?
No. So Link Genie is being powered like by OpenAI and Grok, yeah. Because like if like you've used like Link Genie lately, the audio and just like sort of like speech to text, then you copy that. So I'm actually working on the section to improve that. An image of a post that did well, and it can actually extract like the why that post did well and the text in that post as well. So it's being powered like I think it's being powered by it's 4 or 5. It's 4 AI models, 4 different or LLMs.
4, but isn't that overkill? 4, or is there a specific reason why you have it in that order?
They have, yeah. So the main reason is because like each and every one has its specific task. For example, for the image processing, it's using like Lava. For the audio recognition and extraction, it's using like Whisper from OpenAI. Then for the content generation and the project generation, it's using like Gemini and Grok. So each of the four each of the following has its specific tasks, because it's actually difficult or maybe more complicated to use. Maybe let's say you want to say, okay, I want to use OpenAI for every aspect of the application. Some of them are not as powerful as the other ones that are out there. So you actually have to improvise to connect like so this is like the main this is where like programming starts to get complicated. Like where you have you're trying to integrate different services within your application and getting them to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say that some senior engineering type thinking right there, because as a junior dev or into dev, you would never think about that. I know what most junior devs or beginner devs would do in the situation, try and brute force everything into one API and make sure try and make it work. If it doesn't work, they're like, oh well, that's the end of that story. But it's very interesting how you got into AI, just from doing your final projects to now developing Link Genie, which is something very impressive in itself. I love the breakdown you explain of why you're having so many LLMs running that. For those people that don't know LLMs, I think that's a large language model. I think that's our general knowledge in this day and age. So as we come closer to the end of the podcast, just got like just a few questions just for you to just tackle. Can you just give us your thoughts on uni certifications and experience?
Yeah, so uni is overkill. I wish like I had just maybe done certifications alone, because yeah, it's important maybe for networking, The main reason why university is important is networking. That's the main reason. Networking. You connect with, you make good relationships with your lecturers. You attend hackathons. You attend, like maybe University of Zimbabwe, like Research Week, innovation, so that you create a name for yourself. So that when you are done, when opportunities come, you're the first name on the list. Other than that, it's just overkill. No one is going to teach you how to code. The only module that made sense to me at university was like Internet of Things by Mr. Myaras. That's the only module I learned something at uni.
Shout out to Mr. Myaradzi. He taught you something that you think is the most important thing ever. I think you said a lot. I think I have that similar conversation with other people when we talk about uni. Everyone just like, it's fine. Yeah, networking is most what you're getting out of it. So better try and get other things happening. Because I remember one of my friends actually asked this out, like, guys, people these days take degrees kind of expire because people like, what you learn in uni 4 years down the line, most of the stuff don't even apply anymore. So they're like, what can I do to avoid a situation like that? And people will bring it like, oh, you need to do certifications, you need to be on top of your game, you need to be constantly improving. And I think that's the thing. Also in uni, don't have a negative mindset about it. I think that's another thing that kills a lot of people is like we have that negative mindset about uni. Like, I should have been in uni, but once you're already there, wow, might as well make the best of it. Then our next question is, what's next for Fari? What's in the pipeline? What can we expect from you, especially from people who are going to be following you on LinkedIn? What can they expect from you?
Yeah, I think for now the main plan is to continue like building like open SaaS applications, like micro SaaS applications at the same time, like building to contributing to open source projects. So I've actually like started this new like project. I think I started today called like Disruptive. So like many people like face the issue by maybe you want an application to remove like a BG from an image to download a YouTube video or something, especially when you're on Mac or something. So this platform, what it does is different devs can actually build their services into single pages you deploy, and so people have access to all of these services in one place. So I think that's next for me, and probably try to maybe start a company that actually specializes in web development. But I have to grow first, so that's why now I'm pushing on my LinkedIn to get more visa, to get more traction, and so yeah.
That's lovely to hear that's where we're expecting next from open source projects. Then before we close off with our last question, we just want you to just give some words of advice to the people.
Yeah, I think the main piece of advice that would actually be helpful is, especially maybe when you're studying maybe a computer science degree or software development or an IT related degree or something. Yes, it's important like to have a degree, but make sure that when you finish like your 4 years that you've actually mastered something. If you were good at school, make sure you're really good at school so that you have maybe a first class or something. If you're an average student, make sure you have skills, you build the skills, you build relationships, so meaning you actually have the skills necessary in the field when you're done. Because most companies, what they want is plug and play. They don't have time for you to come and learn. So make sure if you are specifying for what you want, if you want to focus on school, make sure you're really good at it. If you're average, make sure you focus on your skills. Then if you want to do both, then that's an added advantage. So yeah.
Thank you for those wise words, especially when it comes to, knowing your strengths and diving deep in those strengths. If you're an average student, might as well build that portfolio around your skills. If you're a great student, make sure you ace those grades strongly and all. So this is just to give you a moment just to say your socials of how people can contact you and how they can reach out to network and collaborate.
Yeah, I think so. I think right now the best platform to connect and collaborate with me is LinkedIn, and you can just find me by the hand of Farirai Masocha.
Okay, yeah, very people. That was Farirai Masocha today on the podcast. Africa is blank canvas, paint your dreams, as we see him painting his dreams and beginning to build the next special things that we can hope to see. So thank you, Fari, for being on the podcast. It was a pleasure. I know you're a very busy person, but thank you for just taking your time to be with us today.
Okay, sure thing, man.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Make sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Africa's Blank Canvas Podcast, so you're always up to date with the latest news. Don't forget to share. That's the only way we grow.